Hello and welcome to this video on CVE 2020-1472, the Zerologon vulnerability against Windows Active Directory environments and Windows servers environments. My name is Joe Helly. I'm a security engineer here at Integration Partners, and today I'm going to show you how easy we can exploit this vulnerability against the Windows environment. A couple of quick assumptions. We already have an Active Directory target named. We have the name of the domain controller. In this case, is going to be DC01. And we have an IP address of that Active Directory controller as well. Additionally, we will need access to an internal network environment to be able to target the domain controller. And in this case, I'm using a lab environment to showcase this vulnerability. A couple of other assumptions: we need an exploit. In this case, we're going to use one called the Zerologon nullpass.py, which we can locate on GitHub. And in the blog coverage for this video, we have links to that as well. So really quick, this is a really easy and dangerous exploit. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of a cryptographic vulnerability in the Windows authentication mechanism for the domain controller. And using this exploit, what we're going to essentially do is rework the password for the domain controller itself and set it as a null value. And then we can use a tool called secretstump.py from the InPacket toolkit that will allow us to dump those user hashes. And then we can use those hashes to log into the domain controller itself. So we'll go ahead and run this quick. So it's going to be Python 3 Zerologin. Then we need the domain controller name, and in this case, again, DC01, and then 10.10.183.131. And we're going to run this, and you're going to see that it's going to start performing some authentication attempts. Once this is finished, I will come back and we will talk about this some more because it can take a couple of minutes. Okay, and there we have it. As you see, it took about 175 attempts, but the exploit comes back and says Zerologon successfully exploited changing password. And like I said, the next thing we need to do now is use a tool called secretstump, which is going to reach out to the domain controller and essentially authenticate to it and dump all the user hashes through a DC sync. So let's go ahead and do that next. So I believe it's going to be secretstump.py. We need DC IP, and that is going to be 10.10.183.131. And then we're going to need the name of the domain. So I think we're just going to do DC01. Then we're going to use a $sign. That's going to signify that we're using the domain controller service account itself. And then we need at 10.10.183.131. And we'll go ahead and run this and see what we get. If we hit enter through the password, we should see that we're going to start getting some results back, and we do. And as you can see, we've been able to successfully authenticate without having to use a password because, again, the exploit goes through and it sets a null value or a zero value for the hash itself, and we're able to log in without a password to that domain controller account. So let's show you really quick the really large impact. And what we can do is we can take this second half of the administrator hash. We can use a tool such as evilwinrm. So if we use evilwinrm and we want to use I for the IP address, and again, that's going to be 10.10. I've got to come over here and grab that. 10.10.183.131. We're going to use the username of administrator. We're going to use a capital H for hash, and we're just going to paste that hash in there. And we should be able to authenticate now to the machine. We could also use tools like psexec. We could use a tool like wmiexec, etc., to connect to this. And we should, here in just a second, get a shell connection using the administrator account. And you see that we do. So if we, who am I? You'll see that we are the administrator on this account. If we net user administrator, we should get some information back that tells that we are one of the domain administrators. And this shows really the danger of this exploit and the challenge it presents, and the reason that we really need to have good patching policies in our domains and in our environments. Anyone with access to the domain that's on a domain joined account can execute this. Anybody who's on a non-domain joined account but has access to the domain controller can also execute this, as I am here. And then for the attacker to cover their tracks, all they have to do is simply run reset computer machine password. And that will go and reset the computer machine password on the domain controller. covering their tracks completely and resetting the environment so that nothing else happens. There are some dangers with this exploit. It can knock out the entire domain. So don't go and download this and test on your own domain. Contact someone here at Integration Partners. Let them know that you want to get a vulnerability assessment to check this exploit and check for this vulnerability specifically, and we would be happy to do that. But I'm happy to present this video to you today to show you all kind of the dangers of CVE 2020-1472. And again, if you have any questions at all, reach out to someone here at Integration Partners, and we'd be happy to assist. Until next time, my name is Joe Helly, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.